Hi friends, welcome back to Three Barrow Farm. As you can see, I'm out in my garden and I've got all my baskets with me. I am going to answer all your questions that you've been giving me for this video while I harvest maybe the rest of the tomatoes. We'll see. First things first, I found these gloves in a shop in Daylesford. They're not gloves, they're sort of like changing your short sleeves to long sleeves. But I've seen these as sun protectors. And I got this colour because I thought maybe I'd use them in the garden and they're only just going to get dirty. I also thought they'd be great for driving as well, just to keep the sun off my hands. Of course, I'm going to wear them like this today because, yeah, I need my fingers. I think I'm going to be focusing on harvesting tomatoes. However, I do have some corn to harvest as well. Some blue popping corn. Okay, so question number one. I get this question quite often in my videos. People ask where exactly we are in Central Victoria. And I understand that, Central Victoria is quite a broad area, but I have to keep our privacy a little bit. So if I told you exactly the town that I was in, you'd probably be able to find, or you probably have trouble finding us, but still. So, hi darling. Hi darling. Hey Luna. So our closest towns that we go to for supplies and stuff are Castlemaine, Bendigo and Kyneton. We are not really the same climate as Kyneton, although we're not really the same climate as Bendigo and Castlemaine either. There is a beetroot in here, quite a decent sized beetroot in fact. It is quite amazing how you can be 10 or 15 or 30 minutes from a town and how different it can be just, even 5 minutes down the road, or even our neighbours compared to us here. It's just so different because we're doing different things to our property. Our grass is already turning green, whereas our neighbours, it's still brown. We're doing different things compared to other people around us. Even though probably knowing where we are would be handy for you all to sort of compare, I think it can also be a hindrance because we have microclimates and we have different things that we're all doing. So even if you knew exactly where we were, it probably wouldn't assist anyway. Knowing that we're in Central Victoria is probably enough, but you'll sort of get an idea of where we are, knowing that they're the towns that we go to for supplies. And that's sort of the area that we're in. We are not as cold as some towns around us, so we can get quite sunny winters. We don't have, we're on the other side of the Great Dividing Range, so we get sunnier winters, and on the other side it's cloudier, a bit gloomier, a bit higher up. And I've recently noticed that I say that we're in a 9B cold zone, but I've actually seen some things like our Diggers, when I log into Diggers online, into my membership, they've actually changed us here to 10A maybe, or 10 or 10B, I'm not sure. So there's a little bit of confusion around that because I would say, yeah, we can be quite cold in the wintertime here. But maybe because of that sunlight that we get, the soil can get warmer, but we do have those heavy frosts here as well. And some areas around us don't get those heavy frosts. So to pinpoint exactly our climate or exactly our sort of growing area, it's sort of a guess, like we do with lots of other things. We have a guess and just go from there. And you've really just got to find what suits your area best by trialing things. And my whole gardening experience has been around that experimentation, trying things and trying them differently the next year, or trying them the same and having different results. Nothing really works out exactly the same year on, year out, because of course weather changes as well. Anyway, I'm digressing. I'll get on to the next question. All right, this one was from someone in New Zealand, and I really like this question. I really would love to garden and farm in an area where there were no snakes. We don't really have any other venomous creatures here, except I guess your whitetail spiders and your redback spiders. They're actually the ones that don't have the redback. The female ones don't have a redback, and they're actually more venomous than the ones that have the redback. But I have not really, I don't think I've ever been bitten by a spider. I know a friend who has been bitten, or it's not really a bite, when it's the whitetail spider. They deposit a bit of feces in you, basically, and this can get really infected. And so I had a friend who had a huge wound on their leg, an infection, and but they survived. They're fine. I mean, it's not deadly. Yeah, so gardening around snakes. Well, the more you garden and fossick in an area, the less likelihood of you finding a snake. However, snakes do move from one place to another, and they might do this annually as well. They might just have that path that they move from one place to another. And when they're on the move is probably the time where you're going to come across them more often than, I guess, coming across a nest. Coming across a nest is probably the most dangerous situation with snakes. So in Victoria, we have only one non-venomous snake, I believe. This is what I've been told by the snake classes that I have attended. So we've got one python, and that is a non-venomous one. Every other snake is venomous. And here on our property, we get mostly tiger snakes. I have seen a brown snake. One of my dogs has killed a brown snake. We've had a suspected bite on one of our kids and had to spend the whole night in hospital. And it's possibly that she didn't actually get bitten, but, we went through that just in case, because she was around where one of the dogs killed a snake, like 5 minutes after coming in from being in that area in the garden. We pretty much come across one snake every summer in our garden. That's sort of been the average, and it has generally been because of our domestic animals. If the cats and the dogs didn't go hunting for mice and smelling or sensing a snake nearby, then we would probably hardly ever see snakes. So that's something to take into account. But gosh, moving to New Zealand, as some of you will know, I am half Kiwi, and I love New Zealand. I would move there in a heartbeat if I knew that my kids were going to stay there. If my family was going to move there as well. I'm very much ingrained into this land here and this area, and I love it here in Australia. But yeah, it does have its challenges, as does any other country and any other property. I've come to this conclusion that there is no perfect place. Every place has its issues. And we're very lucky here. There are snakes. They are around. They were around in Melbourne in our suburban block that we were renting before we moved here. And I would be gardening, and I'd be pulling out some weeds, and there would go a snake away from me. We can't just act like there's not ever going to be a snake around. That's always on our mind. So as I'm going through this wild vine of tomatoes right here, I'm being conscious of the fact that there could be something. Highly unlikely. I've never come across a snake in my vegetable garden, and it's probably just because I'm always disturbing the place around me. Also, the animals do keep them away as well. Noise and thuds and thumps, they can alert a snake of you being around, but it's not guaranteed. They have really bad sight and really bad hearing. They do feel things through vibrations, but if they are quite happy in their spot and it's maybe too cold for them to get away quickly, they'll just stay there. So for example, I'm going on with this for a while, but there are a few stories to tell. So I guess one situation was I got up one morning and I had 2 buckets at the tap. So both of them were inside one another underneath the tap, and I took one out and filled it up with water, took it to water something, came back, filled it up again, took it to water something else. Then I decided I'm going to fill up both. Filled up both buckets, walked away, watered something, came back. There's a snake right there, a tiny baby one, under the buckets that were sitting there, and it has been staying right there while I've been filling up these buckets, not moving at all. So yeah, they cannot sense things, and that is the worry, I guess, because once you stand on it, they'll know, and that's when you can get bitten. Moving through the bush walking and stuff like that, you're more likely to come across them or brush against one, or I just put those nice tomatoes in the bucket. This is why we can't do 2 things at once sometimes. So they're about, and yeah, we just know that they're about. We know what to do if we get bitten or we suspect a bite. And as an adult, we're pretty safe because we can get, taken up to Bendigo Hospital, and our blood can get tested. If we show signs, they give the antivenom straight away, and you'll go through 3 or 4 blood tests to determine whether you've got any venom in your bloodstream. Very rarely does someone pass away from a snake bite. Pretty much right now in autumn, the snakes have less venom in them, so they're less poisonous because they've been biting things and eating things, using their venom over the summer, the spring and the summer, and so they have less and less. You're more likely to get into danger with a baby snake than an adult snake because the baby can't regulate its venom. An adult can do a dry bite. They can select how much venom they're going to put out. So if they know that, they're a little bit scared, they just want to give a little bite, but they don't want to use their venom because they want to use it for if things escalate for them, or if they need to hunt for food later, they want to use it then. So, but yeah, the babies don't. And the biggest one I have seen here was the very first snake that I saw on our property, and she was big. I think she had eggs inside her. She was quite fat, and a chicken had come across her and sort of pecked and then went "Brrrk," and she just slowly slithered away from me. I was working at cleaning up the sawdust, the bags of sawdust. So she was under a bag of sawdust from the build of our house, and I waited till it was cold. But yeah, that was a pretty close call for the chicken as well. The chicken came out fine. If they don't want to have to attack you. So I guess there's that. But yeah, in New Zealand, you have earthquakes. Over here, we have bushfires. I mean, again, bushfires are something that we have to think about, but the likelihood of us, how many times it's going to come across you, or that we're going to end up in danger from a bushfire, is quite low. All right, I better move on to the next question, and I'm not getting very far with this vine. Next question is, will you do a home tour of sorts showing the benefits of your home? So we live off-grid here, and we live in a solar passive house, and I would love to. Yes, that is on my list, to do a house tour, definitely. To wait until the house is completely finished and tidy is probably not very realistic and won't happen anytime soon. So it's on my list of things to do. All I need to do is really find a time where the house is quiet and there's enough, daylight at that point to do some filming. So yeah, it's definitely on my list, and I look forward to showing you what we've done here, what we've built our house from, and all of that jazz. So yeah, I will be doing that. How did we choose where we live? Well, money was a big factor. We were looking for land. We wanted quite a bit of land. We're on 42 acres here. We purchased farmland, and there are rules around farmland and being able to build. We did not have a permit to build here, and we had to go through a planning officer. That was the best way to do it, to get the planning permit to build on here. Now I think, so we're around 17 hectares. I think you have to have somewhere between, is it 24 or close to 30 hectares to be able to build a house on farm zone land. And we just basically went to the council and said, look, this is all of the things we're going to do. We need to be on the property to be able to do this. They gushed over the fact, of what we wanted to do here, and they approved it. There was another property we were looking at as well, but that ended up, I'm glad we didn't get that one, because we've driven past that property in the past and it has definitely been flooded quite a bit. It's in sort of a flood zone, so we wouldn't be able to farm on some of that land. So we didn't want to be too far away from family, and so that sort of dictated where we were going. Our family was in Melbourne at the time. That was a factor as well. It just all seemed to fall into place, and we didn't really know a whole lot more else other than we wanted quite a bit of land. We dug up the soil, but we didn't dig deep enough. It does have nice, loamy, volcanic sort of soil on the top, but there is a lot of clay underneath, which is not a bad thing. So the soil was good, but we've done a lot of work to this property to improve the soil, and I think you'd have to do that on most properties, because this would have just had stock on it. It was basically a huge thick mat of dead grass. Actually, I will put a picture in here of this space here. It shows what this space used to look like before I started my vegetable gardens here. So I'm sure there will be more questions from this answer. I'm not sure what else to say other than we were quite naive. We didn't have anyone in the farming industry in our family or friends. We were basically going off what we'd read in books. That's one thing that I do suggest to you, and this will be in the next question. All right, so many tomatoes to pick here. So this is sort of semi-answering the question. I will properly answer the question, but it's asking, is there anything you realised during your gardening journey that's really helpful for, those who are starting out? But what I would want to say right now for preparing yourself for living this way. So we weren't off-grid in Melbourne, obviously. So we had to change the way we did things. I've mentioned before how we got our rubbish intake down to 2 bags a year, just because we knew we weren't going to have rubbish collection out here. And we changed things like we did our washing and our dishwasher in the middle of the day when the sun is out, when our solar is, getting the power in. And so, yeah, I would definitely recommend for you to read up. If you don't have property right now, if you don't have land, or if you don't have the capability of having a garden, read and learn from others, watch videos, but reading and learning things from others, it's just so good. And start doing various things. Like if you want to have your own milking goats and make your own cheese, then start doing it now. Start doing it even though you don't have the goats, because if you put that into your daily routine or weekly routine, then you are going to achieve it so much more easier than getting the goats, having to care for them, and then having to learn how to make the cheese. So learn to make all of the things that you want to make. Learn to cook from scratch. Learn to cook from what you think you will grow. Yeah, I highly recommend. It's our farm cat, Harry. He is fast asleep in my veggie garden. And I just checked on him just to make sure he was still alive. Pick these. Sorry to interrupt you, buddy. You'll go back to your sleep. You go back to your slumber. All right, so here's my blue popping corn. I've already opened one. And it's quite successful. Look at that. I love this corn. It is so good. All right, so I need my bucket again. Oh, I can't wait to pop some of this corn. It has been a while since we've grown this, or yeah, I think we didn't grow it last year. So very exciting to have it again. So tips on watering. So advice for those who are starting out just now. So my tips for watering are basic. So when you're planting seedlings, or when you're buying seedlings, or when you're growing your own seedlings, you're watering them every day, if not twice a day, depending on the season that you've planted them. They get really dry very quickly, so you want to be watering them the same way you were watering them when you were growing them, when you were raising them, when you first plant them out into your garden. So you want to be watering them every day if you've been watering them every day, and weaning them off if you're planning to just water once every 2 days or something. Just whatever you're planning on doing, you need to wean them off what you were doing in the first place. And if you got them from a nursery, they water them, I think, twice a day. They water them in the morning and in the evening. I'm not entirely sure. You could ask the nursery how often they water them, just so you know what to do when you get them home. I also water at night time. During the morning is generally when I do lots of harvesting, especially if I'm harvesting greens. The best time to harvest them is in the morning when the moisture that's in the leaves is at its highest. Look at this tiny little one. I'll show you all of these once I've harvested them all. I hope the rustling isn't too disturbing to the sound. So I water in the evening because I have burnt seedlings before by watering them in the morning, and then that sun, because we're out here in the elements too, we're quite open here, and that sun is so very hot so early on in the morning. We have more shelter on our vegetable patches in the evening, so that's when I choose to water. But you might be different. It might be different for you, and it is different for everyone. There is no one way to garden. You've just got to work out what is best for you and your garden, your situation. I find it easier to harvest in the morning, and so at the end of the day, I just don't have the energy to do anything else, or the desire to either. I'd much rather be watering my plants and watering my feet a little bit too while I'm watering, and keeping cool than watering in the morning. I have more energy in the morning to do the more energy intensive things on the property. Didn't get much from this one. It's very cute though. When I'm planting out in for the spring summer garden, I usually use frost cloth, or I save the milk bottles that we get and I cut them in half and I put them over the seedlings just to keep all of the creatures away from destroying my new seedlings. So I think that is all of the questions that you've given me. Yeah, that's all I've sort of got time for as well. I need to focus on harvesting the rest of this and cutting the plants out and getting some more tomatoes processed. Look at all these beautiful blue popping corns. Really want to pick some flowers and make up a nice bouquet. There's a bee buzzing around in that one, so I'm going to leave that one for the bee. If you have any more questions, feel free to pop them below and I will try my best to answer all of them. Also, I thought I would put it out there. I would love to swap seeds with some of you out there who would like to swap seeds with me. So if you want some seeds that you know that I have, or you can ask me if I have certain seeds. I have bought a lot of seeds in bulk recently, and have heaps to share, and so we don't end up in the same situation that I have ended up in this autumn, with some of my seeds being too old and the germination rate was quite low. I have put a PO box address in the description of this video, so if you would like to send me some of your seeds and suggest what I can send you back, just make sure you put a return address on the envelope so that I can send you some seed. We could also have a discussion in the comments as to what we want to swap with each other, but I currently don't have an email set up, so I should probably think about setting up an email for the farm. But I thought I'd just mention that because I think it is such a nice thing to be able to share. It's really easy to post seeds in the mail. Of course, we'll have to be careful of posting things to certain states that don't accept seeds, so I don't know if I'd be allowed to post to Western Australia and Tasmania, but I think I'd be able to post everywhere else. But yeah, I will double check that and get back to you. Perhaps also people in those other states that can only post things in their own state could talk to one another, have a chat in the comments, and you could post things to each other. So that is an idea as well. My dogs have just pushed over one of the compost bins. They've finally gotten to it. That's a bit annoying because that is where we've been putting our food scraps in before we move to another one. There must be a mouse in there. What are you doing? You're gonna need a bath. That is disgusting. Come on, girls. I'm gonna have to re-dig that whole thing. Having dogs has been harder than any other animal we've ever had on our property. They are so mischievous. Oh my goodness, I think I need to harvest some pumpkins. I'm going to have a big harvesting session tomorrow, so watch out for another video of harvesting, and hopefully I will finally get to the end of all of the tomatoes. Alright, I'm going to go and prepare some more green tomato chutney after I have finished harvesting all that I want to harvest, and I will see you again next time. Thank you so much. Okay, there's a bee that wants to go on the flowers. Thank you so much for all of your questions. And yeah, as I said, feel free to ask more questions down below and I will try my best to answer them. It is hard to answer them in a comment though, and that's why I'm going to be doing these Q&As maybe every season. Is that bee still there? Yep. Ooh, Go back onto there. Sorry, disturbed you. It's just easier for me to answer the questions in a video. So fascinating. I could watch bees all afternoon, but I have to get some work done. Okay, see you, my friends. Take care and enjoy this beautiful autumn weather.